In my talk today, I will briefly speak about the Graduate Diploma of Law, the LLM, and the Master of Legal Practice. But before I start that, I just want to briefly say that I have a bit of an idea of what it's like to be in your shoes. So about 15 years ago, I was sitting in my apartment in Toronto, Canada. So I'm from Canada in case you were curious about my accent. And I had completed an honors Bachelor of Business Administration degree in Canada. I was going to be moving to Perth, and I knew I wanted to study law. And I didn't know anything about the law schools in Western Australia. In fact, I didn't really know much about Australia generally, except that there were kangaroos and there was a city named Sydney and a city named Melbourne. So I asked the one Australian I knew where I should study law in Western Australia, and he said, you must study at the University of Western Australia. And so based on his recommendation and some of my research online, I decided to study law at UWA. So I moved to Perth in about February 2006, and I started studying at UWA Law School in February 2006. And after finishing my studies here, I did a PhD, worked as a lawyer. I still do practice law as well. And approximately 4 years ago, I came back to UWA's staff. I'm really fortunate because this law school has the most amazing people working here. So in terms of the LLM and the Graduate Diploma of Law, there are three main reasons why I would recommend that you study in either of those programs at the law school. So number one are the academics. They're very knowledgeable. They care about their students. Many of them are either working as lawyers or have worked as lawyers in the past. Sometimes judges do guest lectures. So the academics here, they're just outstanding. The second reason why I'd recommend that you take one of those two, either one of those two courses is because of the incredible variety of units. So in the Graduate Diploma in Law, you have to take 24 points of whatever units you choose that are listed. And in LLM, you can take 48 points of units, and you can choose those units. So in both of those programs, you can choose the units you want to take. There are no mandatory units, they're all electives. And there's so much to choose from. So there are units like health law and policy, family law, income tax law, oil and gas agreements, international criminal law, climate change law and emission trading, environmental protection law, international human rights law, comparative law. So there's just so many really interesting units to choose from, which I think is fantastic, and one of the many things that students love about those programs. And then the third reason why I would recommend that you take one of these programs at the UWA Law School is just the UWA network. So by being a student here, then you have access not only to the resources of UWA, but also to our vast alumni network. And we're talking about people who are in all sorts of industries, law, business, NGOs, and they're very happy to help out people who are current students at the UWA Law School or graduates. So those are three of the many reasons why I would recommend that you take the LLM or the Graduate Diploma of Law at the UWA Law School. Next, I'm just going to talk very briefly about the Master of Legal Practice at the UWA Law School. Now, the Master of Legal Practice is coordinated by the fabulous Dr. Penny Carruthers. If you have any questions about that program, please do contact her. Interestingly, Penny taught me property law in 2007, and then for the past approximately 4 years, I had the pleasure of working with her. So, the Master of Legal Practice. Why should you take the Master of Legal Practice? Well, the Master of Legal Practice is a degree specifically for people who are trained as lawyers outside of Western Australia but have moved to Western Australia and want to practice in Western Australia. So they take the Master of Legal Practice in order to take the units that they're required to by the Legal Practice of Board of WA in order to practice law in this state. And a couple of the great things about this degree are, number one, that as far as I'm aware, it is the only master's degree in Western Australia where you can get your qualifying units to become a lawyer in WA and get a master's degree at the same time. And certainly many employers recognize a master's degree as being sought after and a very good asset for graduates to have. And then another great thing about this degree is that aside from, in addition to rather, taking the units that you're required to from the Legal Practice Board to practice as a lawyer in WA, but you also, in addition to that, have the ability, depending on how many units the Legal Practice Board decides that you must take, you can also have the ability to choose from many different interesting elective units, and you can just choose whichever you like after you satisfy whatever the WA Legal Practice Board requires you to take. And in terms of these electives, so you have access to taking the electives that I just mentioned for the LLM and the Graduate Diploma of Law, and there are even more electives that you can choose from to take, and I'm not going to list all of them because I might be here all day potentially, but they're really interesting, really cutting edge, and they can be quite useful to you no matter what you decide to do career-wise. So if you have any questions about the Graduate Diploma of Law or the LLM, please contact me, marilyn.bromberg@uwa.edu.au. I'm happy to answer any of your questions or have a telephone call, or else meet you on campus, on our very beautiful campus, for a coffee. As well, if you have any questions about the Master of Legal Practice, please do contact Dr. Penny Carruthers, penny.carruthers@uwa.edu.au. Thank you so much for watching this short virtual open day video, and I wish you all the very best in terms of choosing what you will be studying, and I really hope that I get to see you soon sometime on campus.